live on Facebook. Today we are hosting your guide to smart first-time home buying insights from local experts. And the experts that we have joining us today, first one is Amber Ernst. She is a lender with the Amber Ernst team with New American Funding here in the Quad Cities. And then we also have our team leader, lead listing agent as well, Stephanie Kauzlarich, and she is with the Stephanie K Group, brokered by eXp Realty. So I will let these two experts take it away today and share some helpful information. And if you have any questions, feel free to post your comments within the chat on Facebook, and we will do our best to get a response as quick as possible.
Hello, everybody. We're really excited to bring you some information on new home ownership. A lot of buyers out there have questions and are not really sure where to start or what opportunities are out there. So we thought we would bring in the financial expert, Amber, to start out and maybe talk about some different programs and how important it is to have your ducks in a row and have everything looked at prior to looking at homes, because as we're going to go into today, there are definitely steps to achieve before we get really serious about looking at homes. And this is to set you up for success and for the best possible experience in buying a home. So Amber, do you want to start out with telling us a little bit about New American Funding and maybe some awesome things that you have as we go into the protocol of buying a home?
Absolutely, yeah. So first of all, yeah, thanks for having us. I think that buying a home can be scary, and there's a lot of questions out there, and honestly, some misinformation about what it takes to buy a home as far as credit score and down payment, even history on the job. There's some misconceptions on that. And I'm not going to delve in super deep on, the details as far as how we qualify, but I want to give people like a brief overview on, the process and how it works. But first of all, yeah, a little bit of background about me and our team. I grew up in DeWitt. I still live in DeWitt. I have 3 children. I've been in this business for almost 20 years. We have a 7-person team here locally in the Quad Cities. I work for a company that only does mortgages. So we're like the neurosurgeons of the mortgage world, right? So I'm not doing car loans, credit cards, banking. It's only home loans. So if there's a way, we want to find ways to help people. The biggest takeaway that I want to help people understand here today is, some tips and tricks on credit scores, the process, how we work together, as a team with your lender and your realtor. And then just understanding that there's so many options with no money down. And that's a huge kicker for so many people right now. I know cash is hard to come by. Things are more expensive. Prices of homes are more expensive. So people are always looking for options. What do you have with little to no money down? And there are so many programs in both Iowa, Illinois, and nationally for folks that are outside those areas that we offer to help people with no money down. The first thing I wanted to talk about is the credit score. So how to get a credit score. Some people, if they're young, they're first-time home buyers, they don't have credit. It's a good idea to start now. So it's never too late to start. If you're 18 or 16 or 20 or even 40, if you don't have credit, we can help you work on getting a credit score. A secured credit card would probably be the first step. I think Discover has one, Discover It, or Capital One has one. Sometimes your banks offer them. The key with the credit score, though, is, I'm not saying go out and charge a bunch of money on credit at all. I'm just saying open a card, charge $5 once a month, and pay it off in full each month. That's going to help generate a score. I do have a flyer. Melissa, can you share that?
Yep.
That shows how is the credit score calculated. It has like a graph that shows like the percentages.
Mm-hmm.
You see that?
Yep. I am going to.
We're going to try to screen share.
Yep, I'm going to share this over.
If not, it talks about the payment history is 35%. So that's going to be the most important piece of the puzzle. Okay, so on-time payments. Next is going to be your amounts owed. So that's like, don't max out your credit. The general rule of thumb is 25 to 30%. maxing out your credit is a bad thing. It actually can hurt you. Length of credit history is 15%. So starting now is really important. That's the key, not waiting until you're ready to buy, but starting now to prepare yourself to get that credit score started. New credit is 10%. So you don't want to, apply. I'd say get the credit card and then maybe wait a little bit and don't apply at multiple places, I guess, if you're trying.
Now live on Facebook. Today we are hosting your guide to smart first-time home buying, insights from local experts. And the experts that we have joining us today, first one is Amber Ernst. She is a lender with the Amber Ernst team with New American Funding here in the Quad Cities. And then we also have our team leader, lead listing agent as well, Stephanie Kauzlarich, and she is with the Stephanie K Group, brokered by eXp Realty. So I will let these two experts take it away today and share some helpful information. And if you have any questions, feel free to post your comments within the chat on Facebook, and we will do our best to get a response as quick as possible.
Hello, everybody. We're really excited to bring you some information on new home ownership. A lot of buyers out there have questions and are not really sure where to start or what opportunities are out there. So we thought we would bring in the financial expert, Amber, to start out and maybe talk about some different programs and how important it is to have your ducks in a row and have everything looked at prior to looking at homes, because as we're going to go into today, there are definitely steps to achieve before we get really serious about looking at homes. And this is to set you up for success and for the best possible experience in buying a home. So Amber, do you want to start out with telling us a little bit about New American Funding and maybe some awesome things that you have as we go into the protocol of buying a home?
Absolutely. Yeah. So first of all, thanks for having us. I think that buying a home can be scary, and there's a lot of questions out there, and honestly some misinformation about what it takes to buy a home as far as credit score and down payment, even history on the job. There's some misconceptions on that, and I'm not going to delve in super deep on the details as far as how we qualify, but I want to give people like a brief overview on the process and how it works. But first of all, a little bit of background about me and our team. I grew up in DeWitt. I still live in DeWitt. I have 3 children. I've been in this business for almost 20 years. We have a 7-person team here locally in the Quad Cities. I work for a company that only does mortgages. So we're like the neurosurgeons of the mortgage world, right? So I'm not doing car loans, credit cards, banking. It's only home loans. So if there's a way, we want to find ways to help people. The biggest takeaway that I want to help people understand here today is, some tips and tricks on credit scores, the process, how we work together, as a team with your lender and your realtor. And then just understanding that there's so many options with no money down. And that's a huge kicker for so many people right now. I know cash is hard to come by. Things are more expensive. Prices of homes are more expensive. So people are always looking for options. What do you have with little to no money down? And there are so many programs in both Iowa, Illinois, and nationally for folks that are outside those areas that we offer to help people with no money down. The first thing I wanted to talk about is the credit score. So how to get a credit score. Some people, if they're young, they're first-time home buyers, they don't have credit. It's a good idea to start now. So it's never too late to start. If you're 18 or 16 or 20 or even 40, if you don't have credit, we can help you work on getting a credit score. A secured credit card would probably be the first step. I think Discover has one, Discover It, or Capital One has one. Sometimes your banks offer them. The key with the credit score, though, is, I'm not saying go out and charge a bunch of money on credit at all. I'm just saying open a card, charge $5 once a month, and pay it off in full each month. That's going to help generate a score. I do have a flyer. Melissa, can you share that?
Yep.
that shows how is the credit score calculated. It has like a graph that shows like the percentages.
Mm-hmm.
You see that?
Yep. I am going
It
to.
talks about the payment history is 35%. So that's going to be the most important piece of the puzzle. Okay. So on-time payments. Next is going to be your amounts owed. So that's like, don't max out your credit. The general rule of thumb is 25 to 30%. Maxing out your credit is a bad thing. It actually can hurt you. Length of credit history is 15%. So starting now is really important. That's the key, not waiting until you're ready to buy, but starting now to prepare yourself to get that credit score started. New credit is 10%. So you don't want to, apply. I'd say get the credit card and then maybe wait a little bit and don't apply at multiple places. I guess if you're trying to get credit cards, just go to that one secured card, open it and start using that card. And then your credit mix. So a lot of people think, if they're in debt, they're going to have a bad credit score, which is absolutely not accurate. You can have student loans, you can have car loans, credit cards, home loans, multiple mortgages, and still have a good credit score. I have people that are like, oh, I have a lot of student loans, so I might not qualify. That's not true. Student loans aren't hurting your credit score unless you're in default, which means you're not making your payments. So it's okay to have credit. Credit's not a bad thing. And have debts. And it'll give you that good score. Do you have any thing you want to add about credit or things that you guys have seen or helpful tips and tricks there?
Yes, I would like to ask you if a person has a bit of a lower credit score and they would like to purchase in the next few months, what do you recommend for them to do to increase that credit score the quickest?
Yeah.
Is there anything specific?
Yeah, those are good tips. So, are a good question rather. So with, credit, what we do is we look at it and kind of see what's out there. The main thing that I would say is just paying down revolving debt is going to give you a really quick boost. But another trick, if you will, or workaround is you could keep the balance the same and increase the limit. And that's going to make those ratios look better. So all of a sudden from being maxed out to not maxed out could help your score go up. That's just a quick trick. But a lot of times, we do see people that are close to the limit. I have a client right now that I just looked at and they only have $1,500 in 3 or 4 credit cards. So it's not a lot of credit card debt, but on the 4 cards, they're all maxed out.
Okay.
So I was like, hey, don't close these because that's going to hurt your score, but let's just pay all of them down and then we'll wait the 30 days to repull the credit. So I also had a client once that had one credit card that had a balance of 10,000 and the limit was 10,000. And I was like, maybe if we open a second card or a third card and have them divided out, then all of a sudden the balance to limit ratios looks better. So those are little tricks, but I would definitely say paying down any credit card that's close to the limit is going to help you quick.
And sometimes too, when you open a credit card, I've noticed with my personal cards that they will, you'll have a certain income when you open them. And if you've had them for years, a lot of times you've had an increase in income, raises, and you can actually go in and qualify for a higher balance or a higher income limit. Yes. And so again, that will help with your ratios. But again, people should still be savvy of that and keep that balance down and have that larger limit, sitting out there so you're not maxing out, right?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, we're not encouraging credit card debt by any means. I'm just trying to help, the numbers jive a little bit better in the world and how the algorithm works behind the scenes on how the credit score is calculated. Yeah. So truly, I mean, credit is a risk. It's a financial risk thing. So it's what is the risk to give this person money and how do they manage their debt? So if they're maxing things out, that's a red flag, right? So we're going to look at things are maxed out. And then all of a sudden, if it's not, it's okay to have a couple of credit cards. I mean, I've seen people that have had $40,000, $50,000 in credit cards and still have, a high 700 score. And then I've seen people that literally have $300 on one credit card that's maxed out and their score is lower. So it's not looking at total balances. It's looking at the balance to limit ratios, which is super important. So just, look at your own credit. You can also go to annualcreditreport.com every year and you can get a copy of your credit report. It's not going to give you a score, but it's going to show you everything that's out there. I think it's important for everybody to monitor their own credit so you don't have anything fraudulent out there charges don't look weird, cards don't look weird. I talked to a lot of high school classes too about this. It's your credit score is the one piece that's just going to stick with you forever. And it makes such an impact on, how much money you can qualify for, how much interest you can save, your monthly payments, and, your home, your car, your credit card, your insurances. Everything now. So it's just, you want to keep it near and dear and make sure that you're monitoring it and paying attention to it. We also have a system called Credit Expert. And what that does is if I pull credit and their score is not where it needs to be, we can give them a plan. And it says you should pay, this much on this card and this much on this card and pay this collection off. It gives you a very detailed analysis on what you need to do. So if you're not here now, don't be scared. Just come to me and say like, hey, I know my credit's not where it needs to be, but what do I need to do? There just needs to be, there's like this stigma that if you get told no, like you can never buy a house. And it's not true. We want to come up with a plan to help people. I know Steph and I we've worked together so long, and we both really have a sincere passion to like help people achieve buying a home. So, if it doesn't work right now, let's come up with a plan. It's not that we're telling you no forever. I've had multiple people that have come back, 6 months later, 3 months later, a year later, 2 years later, and executed what we told them to do, and then they can purchase. So there's definitely options. And if you need help, that's what we're here for. And we can create a plan. So credit is a huge thing. We can go down in the 500s with credit scores to buy a house. Sometimes it gets a little tricky. You won't have as many down payment assistance options probably. But it doesn't mean that it's a no. I've had lots of people buy in the 500s. So there are options for those clients. And sometimes, we can find ways for them to buy and get their credit score up before they close. And then you can save them even more money too. So that's kind of it, I guess, about credit, unless, you have something that you have any more questions on or feedback on that.
I do actually. One of the biggest points of confusion, I would say, with buyers, especially if they're first-time buyers and they've never done this before and they think my credit might be a little iffy. I really don't want to talk to a lender yet because it's going to ding my credit so badly I won't be able to buy a house. We deal with that and hear that a lot. And what I would like to hear from you as the expert is when you go to apply for a loan, which in order to get a pre-approval, which you need a pre-approval to write an offer on a house, you have to have a lender run your credit, look at your income, and see where you're at. Because I will explain in a little bit when it kind of gets into my part of what we do as realtors. This is the most important thing because we want to make sure that the house that you're looking at or that you want or you think you want matches the income slash price point of the house per month that is going to fit in your budget. So, and when you do this, we've had a lot of confusion with buyers and, hey, if they run my credit, if I have 3 different people run my credit, it dings every time. So, and I know we've recently had this question come up with you. If you want to just kind of reiterate what happens and how many pulls they get when they run their credit, how much does it actually affect their credit points? And I think that is a huge question that we get a lot with first-time buyers. Can you explain?
Yeah, sure. So you do have 45 days to shop for, credit and mortgages. And we will pull the same score across the board when you're searching and shopping for that. But when you are pulling your credit with multiple entities, it can impact your score, 5, 6, 7 points. So, you don't want, I would say, apply at, if you want to check 2 places or 3 places, you could, but I wouldn't go much more than that, honestly. I also see with credit inquiries, people that have, multiple houses and multiple student loans and credit cards, they can still have 800 scores. So it's not like if you're applying for a loan, your score is going to go from 720 to 600. It's going to go down a couple points. And then in 30, 60 days, it's going to rebound. So it's not the end of the world to apply to see where you're at. I also have clients too, to your point, that maybe they know they can't buy right now. Maybe their lease isn't up till November. but they want to have it ran just to see where they're at and then know the tips to do to get it up, to then re-pull it again. So, yeah, I mean, I hear that too, Steph. Like so many people are like, well, how much is it going to impact my score? And it's like, it's not going to impact your score that much in the beginning, you know, as long as you're not getting it pulled by 17 different places. But, you know, and then it'll rebound. So it's not going to permanently, you know, impact your credit where you're going to have this low score all of a sudden because you applied for a mortgage. That's definitely not the case. And we see that too. So I'm glad you brought that up. But yeah, I guess, the next thing, I guess, getting away from the credit piece, you know, I mean, when you apply for a loan, we do look at income. The typical standard is having a 2-year history of income. There are workarounds on that, you know, like let's say you went to school for 4 years to be a teacher. So you could use your, you know, your education as background to then apply. Or if you went to school and you're a graduating physician and you just get an offer letter, you know, you can use that even though you don't have the work history because you were in college. Variable hours, you know, can make a difference on when you're applying. When you work with our team, we do get verifications of employment up front so that when you meet with your realtor, you do know exactly where you stand, what your payment range comfort is and those things. And then we look at assets, which is going to be, you know, the money that you have saved. Key takeaway here, you do not need 20% down to buy a home. We still hear this. I can't believe that people are still saying this. I've been doing this for 20 years and that wasn't the case then and it's not the case now. So when you buy your house, you do not need 20% down. We have so many options with 3, 3.5, 5, no money down. There's grants, there's down payment assistance, there's programs in Illinois right now for $40,000 towards your student loans. There are so many options to help buyers right now get into a home. And if your lender is not sharing these options with your first-time home buyers, you definitely need to seek other guidance or counsel just to make sure that you are, in fact, knowing all the options that are available. And knowing people that are, you know, in your local market that have all of those programs to be able to offer is also key. I mean, there's the military grant in the state of Iowa. I mean, we've talked about that. We've used that multiple times together to help veterans get $5,000. And a lot of lenders nationally don't have that program. So it's like there's just a lot of free money options out there that you need to make sure that you're getting those options offered to you. Do you, I guess, when you help with your buyers and, you know, we work together and stuff, I know we talk about like payments and programs and stuff, but like, what would you say is like your favorite program or option that we have for our buyers together?
Well, I've always been a big fan of IDA and IFA, which are the or the Iowa and Illinois programs. Those are probably the most common that I'm familiar with. Otherwise, I mean, if you're a veteran as well, no money down, 100% financing, which is a huge, huge thing for veterans to keep money in their pocket, to be able to purchase, you know, furniture or do things in the home that they wanted to do. But I would say IFA and IDA are the ones that I've worked with the most. I've been doing this for a very long time, and a lot of, you know, grants and programs come and go. But yeah, if some of my agents are on here, if you guys want to chime in, if you've also worked with our buyers as well on any other programs that you can speak of, I would love to hear from you guys too, if you want to chime in. Anybody?
Betty?
No?
I agree with you. I would say that those two are the most highly used. I mean, we do have some other options that are like, you know, other free money. We have a new option that's similar to IDA and IFA where we offer a second mortgage and there's no income limits, which is super cool because a lot of those programs, you know, let's say you're like a graduating professional and you're over some of those income limits, you do have options. So there's some that are no income. Otherwise, they're not like super low. I mean, some people worry too, like, oh, maybe I make too much money. I mean, they're into the 6 figures on these programs. So they're not saying they're only going to give you, you know, a down payment assistance if you're, you know, in the very low to moderate income. There are other options. So it's just good to know that, you know, you do have an outlet if you don't have the savings. And that was like my big takeaway when we decided to do this call too, was just making sure people knew like, hey, you know, you don't need to have
Yes.
20% down, and there are options with no money down. So
Yes, definitely.
huge takeaway. Yeah.
Yeah.
The next thing I guess I had on my list, unless you wanted to chime in on something on yours, but kind of like the flow of buying and getting pre-qualified and how we work together.
Yes.
Okay.
Why don't you chime in, and then I have kind of a protocol I would like to talk about with
Okay.
our end of things after you're done.
Okay. Yeah. So like the beginning process, like Stephanie said too, I mean, a lot of people want to look at houses first and then they want to get pre-approved. And that's it's such a disservice to you and to the seller and the realtor, because you don't know for sure what your numbers are. And what I mean, what your numbers are, maybe you qualify for it, but you hate the payment. So then it's like, it's the wrong house, right? Or then you fall in love with a house that is completely out of your price point. So it's like, we just want to make sure, the reason is like, we're not trying to like punish you or make something difficult or, make you do something hard or anything like that. I mean, I hope people don't feel that way about applying. I know so many people have this fear factor of getting pre-approved. And I wish they didn't, but hopefully we can break that stigma today. But I just, I feel like, getting pre-approved first, just so, like, hey, here's what 100,000 will get you for a payment. Here's what 150, here's what 200. And then it correlates back to here's what that house looks like, which is what Stephanie would do. So on the front side, we run the numbers, we verify your income. We either give you the pre-approval now, or we tell you the things to do to come up with a plan. And then you move forward. Gotta love my kids on school day. There's no day here. And then we give you a plan to, move forward with your purchase, which we would correlate that information with your realtor and say, here's what you're pre-approved for. Here's their price range. We talked about the payment, things are tight. They're not tight. Maybe we're doing a grant. Maybe we're not. And then, I've had multiple people that have come back to me after the fact and they're like, hey, I know I told you I wanted to stay at 150 or less, but I looked at houses and it's not meeting my needs. So can you increase it to 180? And what does that look like? Or 200 or 250? So, we really communicate closely with your realtor. So it's not like A, you're looking at houses that you shouldn't be, or B, you're looking at houses that you love. And then all of a sudden you like hate the payment. So you didn't want it anyways. Mm-hmm. So, it's really important up front. So what programs you qualify for, what your monthly payment is, and then what you need at closing. So that when your realtor goes to search for homes, which is what Stephanie will talk about next, they're looking at the right criteria that meets your needs.
Yes, absolutely.
But yeah, then we send them out to Stephanie for home shopping, which is super fun.
Hey, so do you want me to start talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So as Melissa had mentioned, she is our director of operations and the back end queen to the Stephanie K group. She does all kinds of things in the back end. We are a team of 9 with 6 active agents and also 3 admin. So we have you covered from beginning to end and everything in between. We operate fully on honesty, integrity, communication, and we love to sit down with our buyers. And most of our buyers do a presentation up front. And as Amber was just talking about, when we do our presentation with you, to really consult with you on what you're looking for in a home. Think about this. When you go to a surgeon or a doctor or a dentist and you meet with them for the first time, they ask you questions, they get to know you, build rapport. Professionals do this with you. And in my opinion, every profession in our business should be sitting down with you to go through what your needs and wants are, because it is all about you. This is a very exciting time to buy your home, especially if you're a first-time buyer, and getting to know what you're looking for so that we can be your eyes and ears for you is extremely important. And that's what we do here at the Stephanie K Group. One of the things that we love to ask, going back to Amber's conversation about budgeting and your house payment, is we love to ask up front, hey, what is your ideal house payment? sure, when you go to get pre-approved, you might be approved up to 300,000, but maybe you want to stay at the 150 or 200,000 mark, just because that's your comfort level. We love to know what you have to say and work backwards. So the very first step really should be to get in touch with your realtor and pick a realtor. A lot of buyers will not really know how it all operates and how the ebb and flow of real estate works. And a lot of new buyers are not educated and will what they will call all the listing agents, what the agents with the signs in the yard. And you're having to repeat yourself 10 times and you're having to explain your situation all these different times. And actually, when you do this, you are giving the listing agent who represents that seller only at this time all kinds of information about you that can actually hurt you in negotiations. So picking your agent is the very first step. So you can sit down, have a presentation, and then we can get you with Amber and the best lender out there for you. And we can really have her team help you and guide you. And then we love to ask the question, what is your budget? So then when we communicate, because we're all a team, that's how we operate and work, we can then figure out and talk to Amber and say, hey, they would really like their monthly budget for their home to be this much. How much house does that get them, including taxes, insurance, all those things? And we can estimate for you and help you out that way, so that right out of the gates, we are helping you that something that fits and makes sense for you. So that is the first thing that I would really like to talk about. Second thing is that we start searching for you and we get you set up on searching. We guide you in how to do that as well, to make that overwhelming, like, oh my gosh, there's all these, well, there's not a ton of houses, which I'll talk about in a minute. But how do I go and what do I choose? That's the best thing for me. And that's really where we like to then, help you by saying, okay, go, pick out of these are our picks. You then go pick from these, drive by, let us know which ones you really want to see first, because they may not be around tomorrow. So your favorites are the most important. Then how it works is we will actually make sure that house is listed properly, that price point. We run numbers for you. We are literally working for you to ensure that you are making the best investment possible for your livelihood and to build equity and to really truly make this a smart investment. Okay. We love negotiating. And we love really working for our buyers and helping them along the way. So those are the first few things that we do. And then we also guide you through the whole process of what inspections are normal, what things are normal and okay to ask for in repairs if inspections come back where there's going to be some things that potentially come up. And this is one thing too, where, when you're buying a pre-existing home, you're going to have things come up, but what do you actually ask for in repairs? How do we think that seller is going to respond? These are all things that we help you out with as your professional. We've been doing this for a very long time. I myself have been in the business for 16 years, and we have a great team of agents that work really, really hard for our buyers and love helping them. They're passionate about it. And again, we're going to walk you through the whole step. So now, going back to the point I was talking about with picking your favorites first. In 2024, last year, that was the lowest amount of homes sold since 1995. Inventory actually dipped 0.4%. Pending sales were up 2.3%. So that means competition is growing. And as we get into springtime, competition is going to become even stronger. So appreciation is still rising, which is good for you. So a lot of buyers are like, well, gosh, that doesn't seem very positive. Why should I buy a home now? Because homes are still going to appreciate. There is no discussion or talk that there's going to be a crash in the market. Home prices are going to drop. Nothing. We are actually expecting rates to stay where they're at as well. So the longer you wait to buy a home, the more competition you're going to eventually have, because currently the pendings are outpacing the new listings. And so we are going to end up seeing competition as we go into later in the year moving forward. And so get out there, and right now we want to see you to help you get pre-approved so that we can get you in a home faster so you can start building equity. And as homes continue to rise, it could push you out of certain price points as well. So the sooner that you can find a home, get it locked in, and get moving on it, that is going to be the best. And that is just what has been discussed among the markets for quite some time now, Amber, that it's really not going to change much. So,
yep, we've seen that too, that there's not a huge change. And definitely, in another 6 weeks or so, you'll have so much more competition because so many people wait for springtime to buy. So it's like, hey, get in now, get everything set up so that when you find that exact home that you want, you're ready to pull the trigger. Because we do see competitive situations where, it might be on the market and then off the market in 24 hours or less. So having a full service, full-time team on both lending and real estate is key to capturing the home that is going to meet your family's needs, and not overpaying. I mean, I know, like you said, you guys are running those comparables and just making sure that the value is there, that it makes sense. And then obviously that your lending is in place. And then, you'll be on a winning team to be able to get those houses that meet your needs for sure.
Absolutely. Yes. There was one more thing I was going to mention and I just lost it. Oh no. I can't think of anything else that I was going to say now.
We were talking about the flow chart, or like the flow of the process, and with you guys doing inspections and and viewing the home and finding the home, and then the next step when you're under contract. I don't know if you want to hit on contractual agreements or purchasing on that piece of it, or just go into like inspection, which is a key huge thing that I know you guys deal with negotiations so much on inspections. And that's where it's really going to be helpful to have a team and an agent working for you when you have that inspection.
And not only that, but appraisals, because there's a few different things that a lot of people actually get confused upon. One is the assessment. Okay. There's the assessment, there's the inspection, and then there's the appraisal. These are three completely different things. And a lot of people think that they're the same thing. Mm-hmm. So first of all, let me explain. Your assessment that you see on the county website, like let's say that, the house looks like it assesses for this based on the tax amount. That is only for the county to assess taxes. That is not the actual value of the home right now on the market. Your appraisal actually is your right now on the market appraisal amount, but it's very complex. So I'll come back to that in a second. And then your inspection and the appraisal are not the same thing. Your inspection is you hiring an inspector to go in to look from the roof to the basement to the garage, everywhere in between, to make sure that you're learning about the house. It doesn't necessarily mean that everything needs to be fixed. It doesn't mean that everything needs to be changed or everything needs to be brought up to code at all. What this is just stating is it's showing you a report that says, hey, these are maybe things that you need to look at now and consider now to be repaired. These are things that could come up in the future. And these things are good. You're good to go. And you're going to see these reports up to potentially 40 plus pages sometimes. And so they're not to be alarming to you. They're just to help you really learn about the property. The other thing then going into appraisals that I would say is that depending on your loan, you're going to have appraisers looking at different things. If it's a VA, which is a veterans 100% financing, if it's FHA, which is government backed as well, which means a little bit less down. Amber can maybe go into that a little bit. Conventional is another another type of loan. These are all different types of loans, and the appraiser looks at different things within these when they go out and do their appraisal. The more government-backed loans, like your VA, FHA, they are going to require more things like safety and security to become up to par according to the guidelines and standards of the government-backed loans. For instance, handrails on stairways, lead-based paint, so chipping, peeling paint if a house is older, tripping hazards, things like that. Potentially knob and tube wiring or Federal Pacific wiring, those kind of things do take into consideration. So those are three different things within the process that you need to know about. And again, as your professionals, we explain what these things are, what they mean, so that you're not walking in blind and saying, oh my gosh, what's the next thing I do? And I will also say that when you're going through this process, an attorney does not equal a realtor. Attorneys are great. We rely on them in our business. I have many friends that are attorneys, and we use so many of these attorneys' offices to close our the loans for the bank or cash purchases. However, they are not the negotiators on the real estate transaction side of it. Okay. We are the ones that have the tools, the expertise. We're looking at homes every single day. And so when, some buyers out there and sellers will think, hey, I have an attorney. I'm just going to use them to write up an offer for me. They really don't know anything about the house. They've never stepped foot in it. They don't have the tools to run the correct up-to-date numbers to make sure that you're not overpaying. And these things can make a big, big difference. And I have to say, out of the 16 years in business, I don't believe that I've ever had someone come back to have me sell their house that I helped them buy, and they lost money. Again, we want to make sure that we're looking out and doing our homework and helping you so that you can be in that scenario, because you would like to be able to take equity from the first home that you buy and move it into your second home for a larger down payment. So you can move up in size and home, given you may be growing your family. Maybe you're just ready for a change. You want to, build a house, you want to do something different, those sort of things. So those are things that we really do. And then we help you with the steps along the way and take it to closing so that you can sit across the table, sign your paperwork, and the keys are handed to you. And you say, this has been a great experience. You guys have been awesome. So one thing I wanted to go back to, Amber, is that I thought about, I actually remembered. So let's say you have a renter and they're looking for a home and they say, okay, I'm not going to be out of my lease for 3 more months. Okay. A little bit of a trick that we use, or it's not really a trick, but an idea that we like to explain to our buyers is, okay, let's say you're 3 months out right now. They're always going to skip a payment the first full month of receiving the loan. So let's say you close in May, you're always going to skip June, correct? And then your first payment will be July 1. So if you have that lease up the end of June, you could potentially write an offer for 60 days out and start now, and then eventually, skip that month. And that way you don't have overlapping payments, and you have that whole month to really move out, move things over. So it's actually amazing when you are renting and going to buy your first home, because you're not selling one on top of buying one. So
yeah, definitely.
Anything else that you want to add to that? That kind of helps people with budgeting and figuring out timing.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like that too. A lot of people do think that, it's you close and then you make your payment right away. So you do have that lag time. The other thing is, from when you meet with me and get your pre-approval and you find a home and you get under contract, there's usually 30 to 40 days there time as well, where we're doing the appraisal and the inspections and the verifications and processing the loan. So it's not like buy a house, close, or find a house, close, there's this time in between that does, take some time to close, so that you would, if you're looking in the summer, I would say now's the time to get started for sure.
Yes. Awesome.
The other thing too, renting, I know it makes sense, for some people in certain situations, and you have to do it, but when you own a home and you can gain equity over time, it's the number one way for people to create wealth. It's, if you paid simple math, $1,000 a month, which is pretty low rent in our market, you're going to spend $50,000 over 4 years. And, when you purchase a home, you look at the appreciation of the home, and then you pay down your mortgage, just how much more money you're going to have at the end of the time versus the money that you've spent literally throwing it out the window. So again, I know rent is, something that some people have to do at certain times, but it's like the sooner you can buy, and this is what I tell my high school kids too when I talk to them, the sooner you can buy, the better. You don't have to have a house that's going to meet your needs for the next 25 years. Just get started, find a nice starter home. Then when you're ready, your family grows, maybe you get married, maybe you have a kid, maybe you have 3 kids. Then you can buy your next home and roll that equity over, and you're not going to need a down payment because the down payment's in your home. So you can just use it as a tool to create savings, wealth, and create that asset that you might not have never had if you just chose to rent the whole time.
Yes.
So that's the beautiful thing about buying a home for sure.
Yes. And actually, Amber, the rentals and people living at home is up 5%. And so when you take that into consideration, when you're a first-time buyer, if you can do this, if you're able to, buying a duplex and living in one side and renting the other, it basically pays for your whole payment. And then you can build equity by essentially having not even a payment at all. So find a friend that wants to rent the other side, and someone that you know and trust, or anything, because there are always people out there looking, because like Amber said, homeownership may not be for everybody. And sometimes there are situations, if people move around a lot, or there's just scenarios in life that, or maybe someone doesn't want to be a homeowner, that's fine too. But for the investor side of it, rentals are up 5%. And so that is also another option as a first-time buyer to kind of think about building equity. If you're a financial savvy person, and you are able to, kind of be a little handy and fix things up a little bit, and those things make sense to you, you could potentially really quickly start earning equity. So,
Hey, yeah. I have a question real quick. My question is, when you were in our office a while ago talking about people who have college tuition, they're still trying to pay, or not tuition, they're still trying to pay off their college debt. Okay, so they have all this student loan debt. Can you kind of give a quick update on what you're able to do with a certain amount of student loan debt and how some of that can be wiped out? I think you and Katie were talking about that.
Yeah,
I found that super interesting, and I think that would be something I don't think many people know about to discuss.
Sure. Yeah. So that's the Smart Buy program for Illinois. You can buy in Illinois and use a program that they currently have available. There is income guidelines. You do have to have a 640 credit score, but they're willing to wipe out up to $40,000 in your student loans. So it's huge, right? Can you imagine that's about what I graduated with 20 years ago. And if I would have been able to wipe that out, I paid on those things until I was, 30. So, and I paid aggressive to get them paid off. So you do have to pay off all of the student loan debt with that 40. So, if you have 200, it probably wouldn't work. But if you have 10, 20, 30, 40, maybe even like 42 or something, it would work for you to wipe out all of those student loans. And that's through the state of Illinois. So that's a new program that they rolled out called the Smart Buy. And yeah, we do have a couple of those in process right now, and it's truly life-changing. But with that, I said too earlier, student loans, I think sometimes people are worried, that they won't qualify because they have student loans, or they're thinking that, it's bad debt. Just make sure that you're not defaulting on the student loans. But there are a lot of options around student loan debt too. There's different payment agreements that you can set up with student loans. There's a faster track payment that might be a larger monthly payment. There's an income-based repayment. There's a graduated payment. So depending on, aligning that with your needs for your home loan can help you qualify for more as well, depending on how you set up your student loan payments. So, but the Smart Buy is super cool for $40K. I mean, that's free money. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You do have to live there for 3 years. Otherwise you have to pay that money back, but 3 years obviously goes like that, it's gone. So,
and most people stay in their home for 3 to 5 years. I think that's the new statistic. It used to be, I think, 8 to 10 years. But it's now 3 to 5, I believe. So,
yep.
So someone was talking about the other day, they stated, I thought it was a great idea. They're like, right now credit cards are at an all-time high, credit card debt. It's insane. And just to get by, most people are taking out all these cards, and interest rates are insane at the moment. So you're thinking interest rates, what, 20%? There's hardly any fixed rates. If you can get something refinanced, maybe 1% if you're lucky, but that's very short term. So what ideas do you have for people that possibly are looking to buy and also try to consolidate some of their debt, like credit card debt? How does that work with purchasing a home? Are there ways that you can do, because percentages with financing a home is those percentages or interest rates are a lot less than an interest rate on a credit card.
Yeah. In that situation, that wouldn't really work for first-time home buyers, but you could do it for somebody that is selling and then buying. So yeah, that would be, like we call it a move up buyer. So that would be taking your equity and rolling it over. And a lot of people think they have to roll over all of their equity, but you can actually use that equity and you can pay off high interest debt. So that we've done that multiple times for your non-first time home buyers. But you can use, again, your house as an asset vehicle or a tool to create wealth over time. Some people have multiple properties and they use it multiple ways to create wealth. But if you use your house and you have that equity, you can use it to pay off credit cards at the time of closing of your next home. We have a gal in process right now that's paying off like 20 credit cards.
Wow.
And she's doing minimum down with her equity.
Wow.
So again, that's really awesome to do for your non-first time home buyers, just a tool that they can utilize.
Great. Very good.
Yeah. So more of the story is, even if you're not a first time buyer, we have programs and things that you can do as a move up buyer too. So
yes.
And then we can help you sell your home.
Did you want me to share did you want me to share the graphics about the home buying process, or do you think you've gone through that pretty well? Did you want me to share that with anybody on the screen, or are we good?
I think it's good. I mean, we talked about the process.
Yeah, you just have to reach out to our team and then we can go through the process, right?
Yeah. We'll explain it and kind of walk everybody through.
Maybe we could put up our contact information onto the screen or zoom in on that for both of us. So if people do want to reach out, they can give us a call as well.
Yeah. Take a minute.
Or, I mean, obviously they can message us anytime, or if you have questions.
Say all of our contact information is in Facebook Live under the event, so people can reach us there. So if they need to get hold of us, all the info's right there.
Perfect.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm glad that we could, get on. I know it's like snowing in our area, so everybody locally is just buried in so much snow, but it's hard to think about moving and buying. But before we know it, I mean, it'll be March and it'll be really hot buyer season again. So a huge thing that we're seeing too right now is tax refund season. So, people are filing their taxes, wondering what they're going to do. You can use your tax refund money for a down payment. Sometimes we can combine the tax refund with your savings to help you be able to purchase now. You can combine it with grant money, state money. I mean, it's definitely a usable asset that we can use to help people qualify. And we love, turning that no into a yes, if you will, with the tax refund money, because they didn't have money before and now they will. So taxes, definitely something to think about. And then just, getting prepared. Again, I just, the two takeaways for me on the loan side is just that, you don't have to have 20% down. again, so many people still have that misconception, and then the other thing is like, it's not scary to talk to a lender or a financial person about where you're at. It's not like, we're making judgment or telling you no forever. So if it doesn't work now, let's come up with a plan to make you a homeowner, because it's truly the American dream. It's such a great way for people to create, wealth and generational wealth through homeownership.
Mhm.
And so, we just really try to find ways to help anyone and everyone in their own personal situation to be able to qualify or come up with a plan. So it's truly, it's awesome just to find different ways to help people in different situations.
Definitely agree. Makes it fun.
Yeah. Did you see any questions?
I
can't
didn't see
view
any
that on my
questions come
phone
up.
for
We've
whatever
had,
reason. Like in the
let's see here. I didn't see any questions come up on the Facebook Live video section.
Okay.
We've had a few viewers though, but nobody has, put
Asked a question.
themselves out there vulnerable and ask questions. They'll just have to contact us. So, what's the best way to get a hold of your team, Amber?
Yeah, our cell's 563-579-1097.
Okay.
And then our team email is amberernstteam@nafinc.com. We also have a website, amberernstteam.com. You can go there and check out our reviews. We've got thousands of reviews. I know a lot of people really like those reviews. We were #1 last year for the state of Iowa for their down payment assistance program. New American Funding was. So obviously, if there's options and ways to help people with grants and down payment assistance, we want to help. So yeah, just reach out, contact Sephirai if you have questions, or anybody else. I know she has her team on here too. They're all awesome. Melissa does a great job and can help, get you in the right position or the right contacts as well. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So you can definitely reach out to myself at the office, which, today I'm still available, but it's just a remote area with the snow. But yeah, you can always contact me directly. My phone number is 563-249-2497. Or like I said, you can reach out to Stephanie or anybody else on our team. All of our information is on our Facebook page, also on our website at thestephaniekgroup.com. So pretty easy to access us, but feel free to shoot us a text. You can call, send us an email, any way that works best for you so that we can get you started on the home buying process and make it be a smart buy, because that's what this was all about today.
Yes.
Buying smart, right?
Yay.
Yes. Buying
All right.
smart.
Do we have anything else? Anyone have anything else from the team to share? Okay.